We're following up now on a topic that caught our attention a while back. You could call it an aha moment that revealed a struggle happening in many families of faith. It's part of a conversation here on the show about treating obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. Here's a clip.
The theme that we see the very most in our facility is something called scrupulosity, which is a fear of doing something immoral or against your belief system. So they're afraid of disappointing God, actually.
Scrupulosity is an emerging topic, actually, in many faith communities. One we know may resonate with moms out there raising faithful young adults who don't feel worthy to serve God, whether it's on an LDS mission or in other faith-based decisions of their life. So today we're circling back with advice to help when someone you love suffers from scrupulosity. Lynne Sill is the clinical director of the OCD Center. She joins me once again. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back. You did pique our attention with that comment, with that word scrupulosity that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with. And this is an interesting dynamic, Lynne, as you know, because the research shows those with strong faith systems are happier, they're healthier.
Right.
So where does it go wrong, so to speak, or where does it become a hindrance in a person's ability to live a healthy, happy life?
Well, scrupulosity is really seeing sin when there is not sin present. So it is that fear of doing something against your belief system. And this is not a new term. It dates back for years and years and years. They first saw it actually in the Middle Ages, where they would have Catholic priests that would have members of the church come in and confessing sins over and over and over again, and they didn't know what to do with it. And so they would actually shun them from the church and say, you're no longer welcome because you have scruples, and that's where the term actually comes from. And so now we know that it's a subtopic of OCD, and it's something that they can't get away from.
How do you see this diagnosis affect not only a person's religious practice, but their everyday life?
Oh, it bleeds into every aspect of their life. I think that religion and spirituality really are dynamics that make people feel well. It makes them feel healthy. And so when that turns on them, it becomes quite a dilemma in their life. When it starts to make them feel anxious and fearful and full of guilt and shame, they really do have this dilemma, this moral dilemma. Do I stay with my religion? Do I stay with spirituality? And that really does affect every aspect of their life.
What sort of themes are you seeing this bubble up around?
Yes, probably the themes that we see the most are afraid of doing something dishonest, afraid of being uncharitable, and breaking any of the 10 Commandments. Even having an impure thought or a sexual thought can elicit that feeling of guilt. But the thing that we see the most is just within perfectionism. Perfectionism in the commandments of their church. So did I attend all my meetings? Did I read my scriptures correctly? Did I, do all of the things that my church is asking me to do? That can be something as simple as walking through the grocery store and someone made eye contact with me, but I didn't make eye contact back, or I didn't smile. And so they walk past that person and they say to themselves, man, in that moment, did I not love my neighbor? Did I break one of the 10 Commandments? And all of a sudden, they have this desire to have compulsive behaviors. Maybe I should repent for that. Maybe I should say prayers. Maybe I should confess to someone about that behavior. And again, it creates anxiety and guilt and shame in their life.
You say the word guilt. This isn't your base level guilt that you or I might feel over a common mistake.
Not.
From what I have read and understand, this is replaying in their mind over and over again, a very heavy, exaggerated sensation of guilt. Is that fair?
That is fair. We work on something called a SUD scale. It's a basic Likert scale from 0 to 10. 0 being nothing at all, and 10 being extreme. We're talking about like an 8 to 10 of guilt, not a 0 to.
When is professional help warranted? When would you encourage parents or, on behalf of their kids or teenagers to seek out that professional resource?
I would say anytime it starts to have clinical significance. That would mean when you're not able to go to school, you're not able to do the things that you really want to do in your life, whether that's work, whether that's affecting your relationships. Is it affecting your marriage? Is it affecting you wanting to interact with your schoolmates? In any way, is it just affecting the things that you really are important to to you.
And what's the approach to therapy? How do you work through this or around this?
I think this is where it gets really interesting, because like all subtypes of OCD, the most important thing is that you have a trained professional that really understands OCD and the treatment of exposure and response prevention. But of course, everyone gets really nervous of that with Scrupulosity, because when you think of exposure and response prevention, it means to simply face your fears. And facing the fear of sin means that, am I going to have to sin? But that's actually not what it's about at all. There's actually 3 core fears in OCD, and that would be uncertainty, the fear of disgust, and the fear of a catastrophe happening. Most of the time with Scrupulosity, it's just uncertainty. So I have to have them face uncertain situations. So going back to that idea of the supermarket where they didn't make eye contact and they might have broke that commandment of loving thy neighbor, I am going to have them walk through a grocery store and purposefully maybe not make eye contact, maybe not love thy neighbor. And it's going to spark a little bit of guilt, a little bit of anxiety in their life. And they're going to learn, it's going to retrain their brain that they can live through that they don't have to do any of those compulsive behaviors to get out of it.
Well, thank you so much for stopping to shed light on what I think is an under-acknowledged situation. But although, you know, through this discussion, you see how it would be playing out in people's lives and in their families. So we appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you so much.